Left-handed pitcher Zach Britton of the Bowie Bay Sox, of course, last year dominated the Carolina League, 9-6, 2.70 ERA, earned the Carolina League Pitcher of the Year honors, and so far Bowie off to a 1-2 start. And it's funny how it works out. You know, you get the prospect profile, and here he is, Zach Britton right here, and we want to thank Zach for coming down. He pitched today for the Bay Sox and a tough luck loss, 4-3, 3 unearned runs, and I guess as a sinker ball pitcher, ground ball guy, you can't guide the ball, you put it in play and hope that they catch it and make outs.
Definitely, I got a lot of good ground ball outs, not a lot of hard contact, and things found holes, some misplayed balls, but that happens. That's baseball. It's a tough game.
Zach, one of the guys that you had an opportunity to work with, Scotty McGregor, was pretty good at using the changeup, and he's been working with you. I know that he has in the past. How much has it really helped you up to this point?
That's a huge pitch. The higher you get in baseball, obviously at the big league level, you're going to need a good one. He's been working with me throughout spring, and obviously not now. Kenny Steenstra, the pitching coach at Bowie's, taking over that job. It's a big pitch. I've seen some good results with it. It keeps the hitters off balance, especially the good hitters in Double-A.
You're in your 5th year now in the organization, and I remember the day you signed. You came on the air with us, and you were a skinny high school kid from Texas. You filled out now. You're turning into a major league caliber talent and a prospect. And I'm wondering how you're learning and getting through adversity this year, because every level you've gone in and you've kind of figured it out. Your last 2 starts, and again, it's not always just what you're throwing, but to me, a prospect who eventually makes it has to learn how to pitch on days he doesn't have his best stuff and when maybe plays aren't made behind him. How are you handling that?
It's something that you have to learn with. You learn along the way. Today, I didn't have my best stuff, but I got a lot of ground balls. I didn't have the feel for the off-speed pitches. And, Rick Kranitz was at the game today watching Koji throw. And, I got some feedback from him today when I showed up at the ballpark. And, he thinks I just need to go after the guys. Even if you don't have your best stuff, you still need to attack the zone, with your best pitches, throw some breaking balls in there, even if you don't have your best stuff. And that's stuff I have to learn. I have to learn when the things aren't going my way, that I still need to pitch my game, to pitch to my strengths.
Zach, as you move up the ladder, last year at Frederick, the whole season, this year at Bowie, what are the biggest differences you see in the quality of hitters that you're facing now?
Definitely more patient. They don't chase as many pitches. I had to talk with Kenny Steenstra. You can make 10 mistakes in A-ball, and you probably get away with 9 of them. And here you make those 10 mistakes, you're probably getting 6 of them hit pretty decent, scoring runs. And I think that's the thing for me, minimizing the mistakes and, keeping the ball down in the zone and getting ground balls.
Last year when the season began, one of your teammates at Frederick was Brian Mattis. He was there for 11 starts before he was promoted to Bowie. Now he'll be pitching here tonight in the big leagues. Obviously a college pitcher, so he was more mature when he came in. You're going the high school route. When you see an equal, a teammate appear from a year ago in the big leagues, how does that change your motivation, or does it increase when you see a guy you were locker mates with coming up here and pitching against the Yankees?
Definitely increases. This is the first time I'm going to get to see him throw in the big leagues. This year and last year I didn't get to see him throw at all. So I'm excited. I want to see how he attacks the hitters. And for me, coming off of what I did today, I can see how he approaches these big league hitters. This is a great lineup, and he's got good stuff. So I'm very excited to see how he approaches these hitters.
As you look at Brian Madison, what has happened to him in his career, basically coming up out of A-ball, a little bit of Double-A. But do you see yourself do you ever imagine what would it be like this year to be pitching here in Baltimore at Camden?
I've had a ton of time this offseason to think about that. Yeah, I have. I'm thinking, how must it feel for that situation to know that you're throwing well, you're going to get an opportunity at the big leagues. And talking with Brian, he's kept me level-headed and go, just it's one outing at a time, one pitch at a time. And when you're ready to be here, you're going to be here. And that's kind of the feedback I've gotten from the Orioles as well is, pitch, to your strengths, work on the things you need to work on, and you'll be here when you're ready.
It's interesting. I remember the day you signed. Jim Palmer and I were calling the game, and you visited us during the game, and he asked you, hey, can you pitch here now? And you were a 17-year-old high school kid, and you said, yeah, I have a good slider. And I was thinking, you know what? I like that. The kid just signed his contract. He wants to show a slider to the big league hitters, but you know what? You have to believe you're good, or you'll never get anybody out. And I like that attitude. And as Rick mentioned, you're taking each step along the way, kind of the exact route Brad Bergeson took. 2 short season years, low A, high A, now you're in Double-A, and all those lessons you learn, but the confidence has to be right out there in the forefront.
Definitely, and I think that was one reason they sent Brad down. I think I read that was the confidence factor on the mound, and I think you got to have confidence no matter if you have your good stuff, you have your bad stuff, and I think hitters see that. You see if a guy's struggling, and the way he holds himself on the mound, and I think that's one thing you got to have confidence no matter what in your pitches and believing that you're going to get outs.
Well, Zach Britton here from the Bowie Bay Sox. Folks, pay attention to this guy. Follow him because he's got that sinker. And at Camden Yards, as Rick well knows, you want to keep that ball down. Well, Zach, continued success. And hopefully before too long, you'll be following Mattis in the Orioles rotation.
I hope so. I hope so.